Insurance Stream. I'm your host, Dave Bowling. Good to be with you today. It is Tuesday, February 6th, 2024. Today we're talking about cybersecurity, how to keep your agency safe, how to keep your data safe, and how to keep your commercial customers safe because they're dealing with data all day too. Today's episode is sponsored by the Fast Track Appointment Program. If you need more direct carrier access, we can help. We help your agency gain new direct carrier appointments. You always own your book of business 100% in our program. It is completely portable. The whole point is to get you a direct carrier appointment with 100% commissions. So go to theinsurancestream.com, click on services for your agency, click on new carrier appointments, and then you will get hooked up with those folks over at the Fast Track Commercial and Fast Track Appointment Program. You can start getting the carrier appointments that you need. All right, welcome to the Insurance Stream. I'm your host, Dave Bowling, here with Daniel Metcalf of CyberFin. And we were just talking, Daniel, about, kind of the timing of this interview. We've been talking about it for a while, which is cool. And I told you, I did not plan it this way because a lot of the stuff we do for the daily insurance meditation is just purely because, it's the headlines, right? And the last few weeks, especially the last week, there's been a lot of cybersecurity stuff in the headlines. Breaches are at an all-time high. And as you and I were talking before the podcast started, I don't think it's going down, right? I think that this is an increased threat level that is probably, number one, here to stay. But number two, just because of geopolitical situations and different things. I mean, it's something that we've probably just seen kind of the tip of the iceberg. Would you agree with that assessment? You're in the
Absolutely.
business. I'm not.
Yeah, you're 100% correct. And it's because of the change in cybersecurity. It's been around a long time, but the change in cybercrime and cybersecurity and the overall dollars that, it's a $3 trillion industry for cybercrime, right? It's not going away because, like you said, entire nation states are using it way to make money, right? And they come up with new ways. So yes, I don't think it's going away.
All right. So let's start from the beginning. Like just give me a 1 or 2 minute introduction on who CyberFin is, the company, how you guys came to be. And then I understand there's a couple of different divisions that you guys have to help insurance agency owners and producers. So
you got it.
I guess the 3-step process. So number one, tell me about CyberFin. Where did you guys come from?
Sure. So CyberFin is a cybersecurity as a service, and we came and were born out of the insurance industry. So my co-founder of Christoffel, he owns a wholesale life insurance agency. In 2019, he was introduced to me from a mutual friend he said, "Hey, I'm regulated now, and I know I'm under attack more than ever before. I have a lot to lose. Will you look at because of my experience in helping credit unions and banks in the same space, can you look at his stuff?" And after 90 days of him, he already spent 90 days and $30,000. I had to be the one to tell him, "You're not protected nor compliant." He's like, "Okay, build me something," right? So I go and build him something. And he said, "Hey, as a wholesale agent, I have a lot of customers that are insurance agencies."
Build me something in the form of not a policy, but like a procedure, correct?
Yes, okay. Both a tech stack and management. So we're a cybersecurity service. We include the tech stack and we include the 24/7 managed services, including remediation, which we could get into.
Got it.
So yes, can you build me this, right? Yeah. And can we build it so I'm protected and compliant? Absolutely. So that's what we did for his company. Then he said, "Hey, my clients are insurance agents and agency owners. I think that if I'm techie and I don't know how to do this, I'm pretty sure they don't know either." Yeah. And while we were building this, we heard of an insurance agency in the middle of Illinois who had been in business for 25 years, because it had been breached and lost its credentials, had 25,000 quotes and client data taken from a carrier quoting tool and sold on the dark web, and it was tracked back to that agency. Between the remediation costs, the cost for the fines, and then also just the reputation, out of business. And so while we were building this, I said to, and Chris and I
what was the cost on that? And I know this is years ago, right? But what was the cost on that at the time? Do you know?
Couple $100,000 to fix the situation, and then probably fines we were guessing the fines had to be between $250,000 and $500,000, just based on how much data was taken and sold. So They went out of business. So Chris and I looked at each other and said, okay, we know our mission. Our mission is to make sure not another insurance agency goes out of business because of a cyber breach. There is ways that we can do this, provide the same thing over and over again to at least severely lower the risk of it ever happening. And with remediation, if that does breach happens, because they are going to happen, we can help make sure that the impact from that breach cannot be what happened at that agency. So then a year and a half ago, when we're talking about the second part of our company, right, division, a year and a half ago, we get a call from one of our commercial property and casualty agencies that we're protecting. Hey, I have this client. They were breached and they need cyber liability insurance again. I've got this long underwriting application that I have to fill out. You guys do this for us. Maybe you can help me because I really want to help this customer. I'm like, hey, let's look at it. So we went through the underwriting. They'd already had like I mentioned before, they already had a breach. So we went through and put some of our security protocols in place to help them clean up, the customer clean up some of the things that they had. We presented it back to the insurance carrier. Not only did they get approved, they got a lower premium than they had before, and they had higher coverage limits than they ever had because of the CyberFin service and tech stack and protocols we were able to put in place.
That's
so
impressive.
that's when we started.
I've been insuring commercial customers for 16 years, and I've never seen somebody after a claim or premium. But the logic's there, right? Like if they've learned their lesson and the risk is truly lower because of what has happened before, like that, then that makes sense. Like these guys don't ever want to go through that again.
Right. So that is we started adding that as another part of our agent or our company. Is not only can we help protect the agency, but if you're a commercial property casualty or you're somebody that sells cyber liability insurance, we can also go side by side to make sure that you can not only protect your client, but you can also make sure they get the cyber liability insurance that they deserve as well, right? And then they need, because you have to have that insurance, right? If the house is on fire, you want to make sure that you have the fire insurance, right?
Yeah, 100%. So
those are the two areas that we work with here at CyberFin.
So that's the scenario on how those areas were built. So in one aspect, you can come into a property and casualty insurance agency and you can build a system, a process, a tech stack that helps eliminate or reduce or eliminate, I guess, cyber security breach threats. And then on the other side, explain to me again. So, you help the agency and then you help the agency's customers, right?
Yep. We help the agency customers do the same thing. So by that, the agency ends up looking more valuable to their end customer, and they got them protected, and they get to sell them another policy that they might not have been able to sell them before, right? Or they're competing with somebody else. Now you have something that makes you look different from that standpoint of it.
So ballpark me, like, let's say I'm a commercial insurance producer and I've got this client. I mean, I know it's, it's like, how much does a new car cost? Well, Kia, Mercedes, right? But I mean, like if I'm providing this service to my customers, clearly my customer has to pay for it. What kind of cost is associated with a typical client that the agency aside, for the agency's customers, what kind of cost are we looking at for the, company at the end of the agency's customer, the commercial insured? What does it look like? I mean, and again, it's going to, vary probably widely based on volume and different things like that, how big their customer base is, what kind of operation they are, stuff like that. But I mean, like, give me some ballpark figures on, what are we looking at? And then what is the potential savings on a cyber liability policy once I've got this arsenal in my arsenal of protection?
Right. So the same conversation you just started there by saying, oh, it's got to be widely different. It's got to be different, for an agency than a customer. Well, that's one of our core values here, is we need to make it simple, right? Yeah. Simple but relentless, so that it did look very
simple. The simplest ones,
right? So that's what one of our core values is: make it simple. Like, we're simplifying cybersecurity for the insurance industry. So here's what we did: we created a solution, a tech stack that's all together with a service, right? So with the managed service that someone's managed it for them, that hits all the hot buttons for compliance, protection, and underwriting for cyber liability. And what those are endpoint protection 24/7, right? Monitored 24/7. It includes email threat protection for inbound emails, filtering all the inbound emails. It includes a secure internet portal that's private. It's their own secure internet portal, so that whether they're working at home or in the office or at a Starbucks, right, they have their own secure internet portal, and multi-factor authentication all together. no onboarding costs, no, right? Nothing to where they have to worry about any upfront costs. And it's on a per user per month basis, because what makes us unique is that we put the cybersecurity around each one of the users, not just the building and the people that come inside the building. It's actually around it. It includes all those things.
That's good, because my understanding of, and I am by no means a cybersecurity expert. I'm just a guy that reads a lot of stuff on the internet. But
Right.
my understanding of the current state of affairs and the reason there's been a 70% uptick in cyber data breaches in 2023 compared to any other record that we have any other year
Right.
is because the way that they're doing this, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I could be wrong, but my understanding is the way that the hackers are doing this is not by trying to infiltrate the organization, but by trying to get credentials of one person within your
You got
organization, and then getting into the system in that way, right?
That's how the bad guys are infiltrating, like you said, is they see just one layer of protection. Like they have ROI too, return on investment. They know that, hey, if I just have to hack into one layer of protection, no big deal. But if they see a second layer of protection or a third layer as they get through it, they're like, this is not worth my time. I'm out of here, right? So that's why we do the multi-layered protection on the user basis. And then that way, you know that when they're out in the wild, right, your employees or even yourself, you know, they're out in the wild, you have peace of mind that, hey, they have that cybersecurity protection around them. So then you talked about cost. We try to make it so that it was about half of a cell phone bill. That was our whole goal, because we figured any insurance agency owner, any small business owner,
in less than one of these a day, right? Or about
Yes.
maybe.
So our average cost for that layered security, no onboarding costs, and includes remediation. So that means in the fee, we actually go and fix if there's things that are going on, right? On average, $65 per user per month. And when I say averages, there may be some other things, like you mentioned, that's some specific differences by company, but that's why on average, it's around $65 per user per month.
$65 per user per month. And then how does that translate from the feedback you've received when an underwriter has this information and they're going, you know, oh, okay, this place, you know, is a subscriber to Cyberfin. What does that translate to into savings on the cybersecurity policies?
In many cases, we've seen it, depending on the size of the policy, the size of the company, we've seen it as much as 50% go down in premium by having those in place.
Then the question becomes, how much money are you making from Cyberfin? Not what does it cost you, right?
Right, exactly. And not only that, but it's also extra value to your customer that the carriers really love it, because think about it. If we're it's loss ratios. I think I heard one of your podcasts about loss ratios, right? If they know that these protocols are in place, their loss ratios are going to go down significantly because we're severely low on risk. Now, again, I'm not saying we're going to eliminate the risk. We're severely low on the risk. Right. So that means that if everybody has this protocol in place, they don't have to worry about the deals coming from XYZ agency or from this industry, because they have the right protocols all in place and somebody's managing for them. Because that's the other thing. Who's managing it?
Yeah.
Right. Is it somebody in the office managing it? Is it an IT company managing it that might be siloed? Right. No, this is a company that cybersecurity is their focus. They went to school to be security guards, because not everybody in IT has. And so, hey, they know what they're doing. So they're happy about it. And right from the standpoint of, hey, look, there's less risk on my side from the carrier's perspective.
Yeah, 100%. Has there ever been a data breach for any Cyberfin security customer?
There has been a data breach for a Cyberfin security customer, but
what happened?
Let's talk about the but.
Yeah.
The person in particular of that company turned off the Cyberfin cybersecurity service and went around the tool.
Has there ever been a security breach, a data breach for a Cyberfin security customer that had this stuff turned on?
Knock on wood, no.
Okay. And I'm trying to figure out, like, I mean, and I'm not a hacker, so I don't know the answer to these questions, but I'm trying to figure out like how it would even happen, right? Because if you got multi-authentication,
multi-factor authentication.
Multi-factor authentication. There's a term. If you've got that in place, and then your users have to go through the different things. I mean, unless the hacker has access to all of that data or all of the like a text message or whatever, right? Email. I don't. But unless they have access to all of it, then it really wouldn't be possible to breach it.
Right. So in our instance,
or I guess that's the most common way. So we're eliminating the common threat.
You're eliminating the most common ways, right? And so the
Okay.
instance in particular is they went around the multi-factor authentication because they got annoyed of having to use multi-factor authentication, right? And don't get me wrong, just having multi-factor authentication only lowers the risk by 50%. And it's well documented. I was
going to ask that.
Yeah. So if it, at 48% of breaches would not have been prevented because of multi-factor authentication. Okay. And the bad guys do AI. Yeah. The other part is that they get into they still are able to get their bad code on the computer. They're still able to infiltrate the email. They're still able to download the credentials somehow or trick people into giving over their credentials. They're still able to hack into the internet, depending on the places that they're in, and start to feed data through the internet. Those are the ways that they're getting around the multi-factor authentication. And they've already created tools. Think about it, right? You tell them, hey, all you got to do is put a multi-factor authentication. Guess what the criminal's going to do? They're going to figure out a way using AI. They're going to find a way using other tools to get past the multi-factor authentication. MFA spoofing. There's a whole different layer of things that are out there that they can do. That's why the multi-layered approach is the safest approach.
Okay, so let's talk about. So you said 48% of data breaches can be prevented through multi-factor authentication.
Yep.
Tell me about the other 52%. What are those breaches comprised of?
So usually it's some type of email campaign or some type of social engineering campaign where they are baiting you along, right? They're fishing you along to try where you end up giving up your credentials, or you download a piece of software that ends up on the computer that can then read all, is going to get access to Active Directory, or going to get access to some, you have admin access to something that they can get around to even turn off the multi-factor authentication, or they can go around and they can act as you, make a complete copy of something and act as you. Those are the other ones that are out there. People, finding ways that they get in the business, they get in the email and they're changing invoice numbers, right? I just dealt with one the other day where a company that wasn't working with CyberFin yet had been breached, and all of their invoice, they went and downloaded an invoice, changed all the invoices and put a different routing number on the invoices and sent out an email without the company even knowing it. Hey, we've changed all of our banking, and so we need you to reset up ACH with this newest invoice. So here's the bank routing number that we're going through. All it took was, of the 1,200 emails, if you think about it, the 1,200 emails that went out with that, it only takes 10 or 20% of the customers to fall for that, right? Where the criminal's making real money.
Yeah.
And that's how they're doing it.
Okay. So now that we know, because we kind of, I guess maybe I put the cart before the horse a little bit early on. Mm-hmm. We talked about what you guys do, and then we talked about the depth of the problem, right? So the multi-factor authentication obviously solves a lot, right? Half. And then so how does CyberFin address those other 52%? Remind me.
Yep, with the multi-layered protection. So not only is there multi-factor authentication, but we're also adding endpoint protection, email threat protection. Remember, we're filtering every single email that's there, and we're monitoring that email box, and we're making sure that no bad guy gets in the email. We have a part of our email threat protection is we rewrite the links in every single email, right? We're looking for anomalies in the attachments. We are making sure that if an email comes in that's not supposed to be there, we put it in a quarantine report. So we slow down the employee, not only from the rewriting the links to make sure that they don't click on it, removing attachments that maybe not need to be there, but also putting them in a quarantine to slow them down to say, were you really supposed to be getting this email from this person? Were you really, right? Is this really legitimate? Because with AI, you could tell, right? These emails are getting better. These phishing emails are getting much better than they ever had before. Yeah. So it allows it to kind of look for some of that context and solidify it. Then we have your own internet secure portal, right? Some of them have heard of it. It's firewall and a VPN, right? We can actually put a secure internet portal, almost like your own firewall, on the device. So wherever they're using the internet, we can put security protocols in place to make sure that both inbound and outbound traffic are being filtered, to make sure it's not sending traffic to Russia, or it's not being pinged around to all the different countries, or if it's going to a dark website. We can eliminate some of those risks by having that layered security altogether. So you look at it, MFA fails, The email threat protection's there. The email threat protection fails, the endpoint protection's there. The endpoint protection fails, the secure internet portal's there. By the time you get through the first two, they're already moving on. And it's already a taken care of threat, right? And that's why, but you have to make sure you manage it, right? Someone has to manage that 24/7 because they're not doing these attacks 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, right? Because they know that too. Their favorite, criminals' favorite time of year is long holiday weekends. I think we've got President's Day coming up here pretty soon, and I'm sure schools have added the extra day off or whatever it might be. That those are the times that you have to be the most wary, right? It's usually like the Sunday at 8 in the morning or during a holiday break. They know that too. They know how. Again, they're criminals, right? They're trying to think of ways that you're going to be off your game.
Yeah, because you come in, you got a bunch of email backlogs to run through, and you're just trying to knock them out and get them done. Makes sense. Daniel, what do you view as the forecast for 2024? Is 2024, do you think it's going to be a bigger year in data breaches than 2023? Because I know we've had it kind of went whoop, 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 whoop for a little bit and then, it shot up. What do you think happens in 2024? Do we get a grip on this problem a little bit, or does it continue to increase?
Yep. I get asked this question all the time since 2016, and I give the same answer. It's going to be about the same. So yes, we see spikes and up and down. We saw a huge spike in 2023. I think it's going to at least be the same in 2024 as it was in 2023 because they have AI. There's more ways that they can attack. And now they know small businesses are worth just as much as the big organizations.
Yeah, 100%. How do people get in contact with you?
Yep. So you can find me personally at DM, Daniel Metcalf, at cyberfin.net. So DM at cyberfin.net. And cyberfin.net's our website. You can sign up for an assessment. We're happy to assess you or one of your customers and make sure that they have the right cybersecurity in place.
Sure. So assessments free of charge?
Free of charge. Free of charge. No obligation. We just want to make sure that every agency and their customers have what's necessary to compete in this battle against cybercrimes.
Well, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on today, Daniel. We really appreciate it.
You're very welcome.
And I hope we can have you back because, it'd be nice to shed some light on these different things that are going on in the cyber world because I don't understand it. And I know I speak for a ton of insurance agency owners that say, not only do we not understand it, we don't really want to dive super deep. We just want to know enough about how to protect ourselves and our customers. So appreciate it.
Happy to be a regular contributor.
Thank you so much.
To do so.
All right.
Thank you.